Hey everyone, Metagross Freak here, and chances are if you play Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder or some kind of other tabletop RPG, you need to be prepared. Many times I've had people just show up without any equipment, and it can be really annoying. So to help make you the best uh, tabletop, I'm just gonna say either D&D or Pathfinder to substitute player that you can be. Here are a few things I recommend you bring to make it easier for your DM. First off is your character sheet, obviously. You're obviously gonna need your character sheet. You're gonna need at least one pencil in order to do changes and stuff, but people might not always be as responsible as you. If you're a very responsible person able to hold on to your stuff, maybe hold on to a friend's character sheet so that they can follow along, or so that they can have their stuff be secured without having to worry about losing it. It's also a possibility that you might need to have a backup character sheet, a backup blank one, just in case either your DM doesn't let you respawn characters, or in case one of your other friends loses it and needs to start over from scratch. It's also important to note the information you need. If, for example, my main character is a Sylvan Druid, I have saved on my phone bookmarks for the Sylvan, for Druid, for my air domain, for all of the resources I need. If you play something homebrew, you might even want to print it off, like the homebrew class I may have a print off copy. That way, if I end up playing a character, or if someone ends up playing a character based on the homebrew, the DM or GM can check it to make sure it fits along with the story, and maybe they can make adjustments as they feel is necessary. Next up is the all-important dice, and every character should have at least one dice set. This includes a d20, a d12, a d10, another d10 but with 10s instead of 1s, also called a percent die or a hundreds die, a d8, a d6, pretty easy to come by, and a d4. Now, I have, for example, a couple extra d6s just sitting on the side in case I need to roll extra things, or for example, if I use a spell that is 3 d6s of damage, rather than rolling the same die 3 times, I can save time by rolling all 3 at once. Sometimes having one set of die isn't enough. For example, sometimes people will forget their die, or maybe you might want more than one d20 to roll at once. That might be a good idea to have, say, multiple sets of die. I have 6, and that might seem excessive, but I actually got 5 sets of die for the price of 3, so I really only paid for 4 sets of die, and I have a really nice pouch to hold in it. In fact, this pouch might seem kind of small, but it's actually able of holding all of my sets of dice. I have a yellow set, a translucent orange, which is my, up until now, my main set, metallic blue, metallic green, translucent purple, and solid orange. And the 3 leftover d6s, and as you can see, they all fit in here. Let me try to get some light. There we go. They all fit in this bag. The bag weighs about a pound. Not even that, really, but it holds all 6 sets of die. You know, you can easily stuff this in a pocket or under a hat, or, you know, whatever you want. You also might need a game mat. Some people choose to have like a piece of laminated plastic, or maybe like a mat that they use expo markers on to draw movements. However, some people are a little old school and they have old school grids. Now, you can get these grids pretty easily. You could just use graph paper that has like 1 inch by 1 inch squares, or maybe if you're really frugal, you can have an old map. This is from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Dungeon Dice Monsters game that no one ever played, but I still have the game mat from all those years, and I just held on to it, and I use this sometimes for my dungeons. Obviously, if you're going to be moving around on a grid, you're going to need little tokens. Now, you could use something as simple as like chess pieces, or even like little checkers to mark, you know, movement of characters, or you can use little figurines. For example, I mentioned the Dungeon Dice Monsters game, and I have a couple of those little figures laying around, and people, again, similar to the multiple colors of dice, people can choose whatever figures they want. It might also be important to have extra figures. For example, I have a couple figures from little Bakugan figure sets, and you can use these as maybe bosses or NPCs, or maybe just really big enemies, especially in the case of this golem. Or even if you play other tabletop games, you can incorporate those into it as well. I have a couple little Warhammer figures from when I went through a short Warhammer phase. Like literally, these are the only 3 figures I have, and maybe you can just have a little crudely drawn figure like this horribly drawn Viking. Like it looks like he's crying. The blue paint on his eyes is so bad. And so you can garner whatever collection you have of tiny figurines, whether they be, from a completely different series or not, and you can try to bring them together to have as much customization of characters being able to move around. It's actually really neat. And you only need a couple little storage bins. You can use a bag like I do for the dice, or you can use maybe a small plastic container like this, and they fit a large number of figures. In fact, all those figures I just showed fit in these 2 small little boxes, plus they have a dice bag. If all you have is this and a folder with your character sheets and everything, with your character sheet and your map and everything, you can compactly just pick up all this stuff and even bring it from a table to another table, to another room, or even down the street, or whatever you need. It's very compact. So that's it for being prepared for Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or whatever. Just keep track of your sheet, grab your dice, maybe have some extra characters, and remember that the Dungeon Master or the Game Master is trying to make an entire world of fun for you and your group. So the easier you make their job, the more fun you'll have. And that's why I carry all these extra figures, I carry extra dice and everything to make my DM's job a little bit easier. I hope you found this video informative, and until next time, I'm Metagross Freak, and have a great one.